Hello, my name is Valeria Maya and I would like to ask you a question. Have you ever heard about the Afro-Seminole Creole language? If you answer no, that's totally okay. There were about 90% probabilities that you never heard about this. Why? Because we always talk about English,
Spanish, German, Chinese, Japanese, Russian, I don't know.
a ton of different languages, but never about this one. And the reason why is because this is an endangered language, which this means is that this language is about to die. There are only about 200 to 300 people who speak this language, and probably even less. So I would like to talk to you a little more about the Afro-Seminole Creole language, which I believe it's pretty interesting. As I mentioned before, the Afro-Seminole Creole language is declared as an endangered language. Even the UNESCO declared this language as a critically endangered language, which this means is that, yes, this language is at a huge risk of disappearing, of dying, and there are several reasons why this happened. So, number one is because there are only about 200 to 300 people who speak this language and who know about this language. And this was several years ago, so probably the number is even smaller nowadays. The second reason why the UNESCO declared this language as a critically endangered language is because only elderly people, only grandparents, and even older generations are the only ones who know about this language, are the only ones who were in contact with this language. In other words, what this means is that younger generations never were in contact with the Afro-Seminole Creole language. So they never were taught on how to speak it, or how to write it, how to communicate using this language. So basically every time that an Afro-Seminole Creole elderly dies, a part of history about this language dies too. And talking about history, let me tell you a little background about the Afro-Seminole Creole language. That mixes Creole English and of course Gula, which is a language that emerged in Africa. Even though the Afro-Seminole Creole was discovered on mid-20th century, this language has been spoken for more than 200 years by the Afro-Seminoles located in Oklahoma and the north of Mexico. Much known how Africans were taken away from home and enslaved. So when they got into this new place, they really needed a way to communicate with each other. And that's how a mixture of different languages and sources developed a new way of speaking, which was the Creole English. It was very much used by the Gullah Geechee, who now are located on South Carolina and Georgia, and even nowadays is their first language. As I already mentioned before, the Gullah Geechee and many other Africans were enslaved, and by the 1700s, they decided that this type of life was not the one that they wanted. So they decided to escape from slavery. On these plantations, they met and became part of a small but pretty unique community called the Black Seminoles. This now mixed community on the 1849 decided to relocate themselves. So they headed up west to Oklahoma, and some others decided to move to Texas. Around 40 to 50 years later, they decided to relocate once again, and they moved down to the north of Mexico, to the state of Coahuila. So recapping, Afro-Seminoles are nowadays located on the Oklahoma area, on the Texas area, and also on Coahuila, which is at the north of Mexico. The Afro-Seminole Creole culture and traditions are a mixture of other ones, as pretty much everything else. Their religion is Christianity, and they believe in monotheism. So they believe in Jesus Christ as their saviors. And this community is very much energetic and with a pretty cheerful spirit. Since they were once located on the rice plantations, their diet consists a lot of rice, but also since they were located on Florida, their flavors are very much tropical. General Afro-Seminoles are very similar to the north of Mexico, but also to American Indians. They both used to dress similar dress, they both used to eat similar food, and they both used to work their land and grow their own crops and food, and they used to live in similar houses. So yes, there were so many similarities with the population in the north of Mexico, but also with American Indians. Are you wondering how the Afro-Seminole Creole language sounds like? If you answer yes, I would like to show you a little clip of a native Seminole Creole speaker. Her name is Bertha, and she talks to us on this video provided by Laanguage. She tells her story as a kid, of course, speaking this language. So are you ready to watch?
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Everybody is welcome here. If you're Seminole, you're welcome. If you're Bakra, you're welcome. Everybody's welcome, and God bless your soul. My name is Bertha Faye Benson. My parents' name was George Faye. In Spanish, his name was Simon Alvarez. And my mother name was Viola Mariscal. And they from Mexico. And they were Seminole Indian descendants. My grandmama can keep the ranch up. It been have cattle them. It been had goat them and pigs and chicken.
If you paid attention to Bertha and to her way of speaking, notice that her way of speaking is kind of similar to English. Afro-Seminole Creole language has pretty much the same structure as English has. So each sentence has its own subject, verb, and object. You can see on this sentence, I'm not going to speak it because I'm not going to be able to, but you can see it. And I'll provide you the translation in English, which is this one. If you see the structure, it's really similar. So if you ever try to learn Afro-Seminole Creole, you'll get it. I believe the Afro-Seminole Creole language is a very interesting language to know about and learn and even speak it. But as I mentioned before, this language is dying. Unfortunately, on 2020, the last person who fluently spoke the Afro-Seminole Creole died. Fortunately, this led to an urge to preserve the language and to share it with young generation and even with children who are the future of this population. Sarah Johnson is a lady who founded the Seminole Negro Indian Scouts Historical Society. And what pretty much the society does is to share with the public what the Afro-Seminole Creole is. With its culture, with history, they are trying to find everything that they can in order to have records and to share it with future generations. I believe their work is super outstanding, and what they are doing is awesome. Adding on this plan, what I would do is to talk to the government of Texas, Oklahoma, even with the Mexican government, and promote Afro-Seminole Creole classes so more people, and especially children, can learn about this language and left the risk of extinction. If you're interested in learning more about this interesting language, but at the same culture and history, you can review the links that are provided on the description box. And I would like to encourage you to learn more about the Afro-Seminoles and about the Afro-Seminole Creole language and share it with your family and your friends. Bye!